What is up guys, Greedy Knight here talking about the 5th fleet iterations of Charge Blade. I'll be going over the similarities and differences between World Iceborne and Rise Sunbreak. Both iterations are good, but there are notable changes that require you to adjust how you play the weapon. Let's get into it. Sword and Shield mode remains unchanged from most of its previous iterations. It has the usual triple light attack combo, a timed charge slash, the foul load, and the return of the shield thrust shortcut from Sword and Shield into Axe mode. Similarly, Axe mode has its 2 vertical chops and a triple side chop with the SAED finisher. Aerial attacks and morph attacks are the same as well. Files loaded into the shield last 30 seconds, and the red shield provides the usual guard increase and sharpness reduction. Condensed Element Slash gives Mind's Eye and File Burst to all sword and shield attacks assuming you have red shield charge active. Fate Slash is an omnidirectional positioning option that lets you line up SAEDs and combo on the move in Sword and Shield mode. There is a lacking mobility equivalent for Axe mode. Overall, the basic moveset is the same, the main differences are caused by game-specific mechanics. The basic Super Spam moveset is identical, however, Worldborn has the distinct advantage of the Savage Axe guard point to bail out of the SAED input safely. Risebreak has the collective advantages of counter morph slash boosted files, counter peak performance regenerating your files in response to any single hit attack, morphing events to reposition your files on any of the monster's hit zones, angling to aim your files to provide more precision, firing pins to turn your file bursts into fireworks that extend shield charge, and soakbind attack cancelling to make the file load input safe. Risebreak was given more tools to work with, so naturally it could do more than Worldborn. The biggest difference ends up being between the 2 different axe modes, Savage Axe and Spinning Axe. Savage Axe is activated through the SAED combo path and provides a perma-axe buff that turns every axe attack into a buzzsaw chop. Each spinning chop applies additional ticks based on how long your chop stays connected to the monster, and each tick consumes sharpness. Your non-burst chops lack Mind's Eye, so you can bounce if you have subpar sharpness. The only bad part of Savage Axe is the file drain mechanic. You lose a file while Savage Axe is active every few seconds, ensuring you will exit Savage Axe and morph back to Sword and Shield mode, regardless of how well you manage your files. In my opinion, it's strictly a punishment without a tangible reward. The meta combo ends up being vertical chops with minimal counts of ED2s to stay in Axe mode longer, but you will always morph to Sword and Shield within a minute in the absence of Power Prolonger. Condensed Spinning Slash switches with Condensed Element Slash and is activated through the file load. Each CSS chop requires you to hold down the input to get all 5 of the spinning axe ticks. It has the drawback of locking you into the animation with the benefit of guaranteed 5 ticks for every chop on a targeted hit zone. The entire move is treated as one attack, so it consumes 1 attack's worth of sharpness. Also, all spinning chops have Mind's Eye, so you will never bounce using vertical or horizontal chops. The CSS buff remains active in Axe mode. If you swap to Sword and Shield mode, it deactivates, regardless of file count. Because of this change, the Axe morph attack, file load burst chop shortcut, and draw attack axe chops are not affected by CSS, losing these respective combo starters which are available in Worldborn. If you get hit and stunned by an attack, you will lose the CSS buff. To counteract this change, every 3rd spinning chop now generates files, removing the file degradation system entirely. You can stay in Axe mode until your red shield charge fizzles out, or until you burn through your files. The meta combo ends up focusing on the ED2 with vertical chops and ready stance, because you can infinitely loop your chops without losing a file or the buzzsaw buff. CSS has the support from other switch skills, forming the so-called Spinning Axe playstyle. Counter Morph Slash provides a safety button since you can instantly guard point from Axe mode. Counter Peek lets you reload on files and then rev back up into your buzzsaw, or reload your shield charge. Morphing Events enables you to target any good hit zone and zoom to any part of the monster in Axe mode. Ready Stance increases your double chop count while bulldozing through the monster's aggression. All of these moves combined allow you to deal with most monsters without letting up your chopping barrage. Fast monsters like Rajang are easy to deal with using Spinning Axe. There is contention on which version of buzzsaw is better. Worldborn players swear by Savage Axe, Risebreak players swear by Spinning Axe. My 2 cents is that they are both technically right. Savage Axe would be perfect without the foul degradation because it would then have a balanced foul count restriction, forcing you to morph back naturally once you get down to 1 foul without punishing you for using element discharge attacks. It would emulate GU's version of Valor style Charge Blade but with a buzzsaw. Risebreak's main issue is the punishment of your morphs. The removal of a good feature like the Perma Axe buff was the only detriment to Spinning Axe, forcing you to stay in Axe mode until you had to refuel on shield/files. The foul generation and ready stance are massive band-aids to an otherwise fatal issue of not being able to morph on a morphing weapon. It did the job of keeping you in Axe mode but at the cost of disrupting the loop of Sword and Shield generating files and Axe mode discharging those files. Scroll swapping attempted to alleviate this further by allowing you to store your CSS buff as Condensed Element Slash through the swap mechanic, assuming you were always in Axe mode. It ended up being a hassle rather than another patch job. The solution for future installments of the Buzzsaw would be to remove foul degradation and the morph punishment. Keep the inherent Mind's Eye and sharpness consumption of Spinning Axe and transplant them over to Savage Axe. This would result in the best of both Spinning Axe and Savage Axe to consolidate them into one iteration. The Silkbind attacks were broken in Risebreak so they could stay there until the next portable installment. Clutch Claw guarantees 2 skills as meta in Worldborn, Agitator and Master's Touch. If you spam wallbangs, the monster becomes enraged, making Agitator a consistent attack and affinity boost for less investment than attack up. With the tenderizing effect, you can make any hit zone a weak spot and thus ensure you always crit, activating Master's Touch. With 100 affinity, it has a 100% chance to negate sharpness consumption, and because Savage Axe eats through sharpness like a Devil Joe eats meat, you need that negation to maintain damage output. Lastly, sets invest in element crit up because of its 30% increase to elemental damage, maximizing your axe chop and ticks. Risebreak uses attack up over Agitator since it now applies an additional percentage to raw attack instead of affinity at level 4 and higher. Sharpness maintenance varies between Protective Polish and Razor Sharp, but Heaven Sent level 1 ends up being the staple sharpness skill in endgame because your CSS chops don't burn through sharpness fast enough to warrant more sharpness reduction. Master's Touch is rarely seen on most builds after the removal of the Clutch Claw, the sharpness negation nerf from 100% to 80% on critical hits, and CSS doesn't burn through sharpness at the rate of Savage Axe. Element crit up was nerfed from 30% to 15% in Risebreak, causing it to drop from meta usage. The typical damage skills like Crit Boost, Element Exploit, and Element Boost are run on both sets otherwise. Guard is run as needed in Worldborn. Level 1 and 3 are typically the optimal levels. Guard Up doesn't become available as a generic skill until Master Rank, forcing you to deal with unguardables by dodging them. Risebreak makes Guard Up and Guard accessible for the entire game, but it pits you up against an entire roster of endgame monsters that warrant Guard Up usage because everything explodes. You need at least 3 levels of Guard and 1 level of Guard Up once you start reaching endgame content. Rapid Morph is a Risebreak only skill, serving as a staple skill for super spam to increase your speed and safety. Load Shell / Capacity Boost is a staple skill for Worldborn in general, and Risebreak's super spam for a different reason. World's version of Load Shells costs 1 point and grants a 6th file. It allows supers to output more damage by that extra file, while providing both longer shield charge and Savage Axe time. You do need to equip Focus to optimize your Sword and Shield combo, increasing your skill tax for functional skills from 1 point to 4. Ryza's version of Load Shells costs 2 points and converts yellow energy into 5 files instead of 3. It optimizes the Sword and Shield combo to a charge slash into round slash, serving purely as a functional skill to replace the slightly more expensive fast charge skill. World's iteration of Load Shells works as a damage and functional buff, while Rise is purely a functional buff. In my opinion, future iterations should just fuse the 2 versions to give 6 files for the first level, and full files from yellow energy for the second level. These 2 iterations are the best versions of Charge Blade. They optimized the weapon from its previous iterations in different ways, and even made a new playstyle. Worldborne's iteration rewards prediction and methodical gameplay, while Risebreak rewards technical execution and mastery of the Silkbind attacks. Both iterations still require you to maintain files and shield charge. The respective iteration is designed for its game. As a jack-of-all-trades weapon, Chargeblade makes use of every tool given to it and incorporates it into its moveset, resulting in distinct versions of the same weapon. That is why Worldborne and Risebreak has many notable differences. At the end of the hunt, it is still Chargeblade, and I will continue to main this weapon, eagerly waiting for future installments like Wilds. Like if this video was useful to you, consider subscribing if you want to see more Monster Hunter World content like this. That's all I got for this one. Greedy Knight, signing out.